Welcome to the deep dive. So today we're unpacking a really stark legal case that shines a spotlight on nursing home accountability.
Right.
Specifically, it's about preventable neglect. We're drawing from material published by the legal resource, bedsore.law, among other case documents.
And our mission here is to move past the general idea that neglect happens and, really distill the crucial facts of one particular case.
This one is a Virginia case, right?
That's right. It resulted in a $400,000 settlement. And that number, it isn't just a number, it's a tangible demonstration of the consequences when basic care standards just completely collapse.
So let's get into the person at the center of this. The client, Helen. She was 90 years old.
And she was admitted for long-term care. She had mobility challenges, some moderate dementia, a very familiar story.
It is, and that's the crucial context here. When a family places a loved one in a facility, they are signing over absolute trust.
Absolute trust. And that trust hinges on the most routine, predictable tasks like timely repositioning and, in this case, hygiene.
And what the legal review of this specific case showed was just how quickly a failure in those basic tasks can spiral.
A total crisis.
The sources detail these specific preventable acts. First, the facility repeatedly failed to provide timely hygiene care.
Which means Helen was left in soiled garments for extended periods. That creates just a hazardous environment for skin integrity.
And that prolonged exposure to moisture and friction is the perfect incubator for injury, isn't it?
It absolutely is. This wasn't just discomfort. This neglect directly caused a severe skin breakdown on her upper thighs and lower back.
So if the physical signs were there, how did it progress so far?
Well, that's the core question, and it's what makes this case so important. Compounding the hygiene failure was just inadequate monitoring.
So staff just weren't checking.
Or they weren't escalating. They failed to identify her visibly worsening condition, her distress. They were required to document it, to respond, and they simply didn't.
And that failure to intervene turned what should have been a preventable skin issue into a life-threatening medical emergency.
Exactly. When Helen was finally transferred to the hospital, the doctors discovered she had developed not just severe bed sores or pressure injuries, but also cellulitis.
And a deep tissue infection on top of that.
A deep tissue infection. These are often life-threatening complications that tell you the neglect was prolonged and severe.
The fact that she needed weeks of painful, intensive treatment really speaks volumes about the suffering she endured.
It does. And that level of clinical crisis is what immediately triggered a much deeper investigation.
So the legal team didn't just look for one negligent employee. They were looking at the institutional environment itself.
Right. And the review confirmed their suspicions. They found systemic understaffing and a clear, undeniable pattern of negligence.
That finding systemic failure, that's the critical legal hinge then.
It is. It confirmed that the facility's management choices, essentially prioritizing staffing levels over patient safety, directly caused Helen's injury. This wasn't an accident.
It was predictable.
It was a predictable outcome of institutional choices.
And the result of proving that institutional culpability was the facility agreeing to that $400,000 settlement.
A substantial amount. And it reflects the severity of the injury and the undeniable proof that it was all preventable.
You can really feel the emotional impact in the family statements.
You can. Helen's daughter was so clear, noting her mother's suffering could have been completely avoided if the facility had just done its job.
And the grandson praised the advocates not as lawyers, but as advocates for justice. That shows you the deep sense of betrayal the family felt.
It's why these practices focus on holding facilities accountable for pressure injuries, for fall injuries, and even, tragically, for wrongful death.
So to synthesize this, the case really exemplifies the immense legal and human cost when basic standards of care are just ignored.
Simple things, like hygiene and monitoring. The suffering inflicted on this one woman ended up costing the facility hundreds of thousands of dollars.
You know, if you look at the structure that firms like Bedsore.law use, where they operate on a no recovery, no fee basis, that's interesting.
It is. It's not just a business model. It implies an incredible confidence in their ability to prove negligence when injuries of the severity happen.
So what does that confidence tell you, the listener, about the clarity of the evidence in these types of cases? And maybe more fundamentally, what systemic changes need to happen in long-term care to prevent this kind of neglect, the kind that goes from soiled garments to life-threatening infection, from becoming a predictable pattern?